Welcome grade 9s. So in this video I'll be doing the factorization of these problems. I think we have like 2, 4, 6, 7 problems. So these questions are coming from previous June exams. So I'm took it from like 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, etc. So the first question that I will start to factorize is the question 2.3.1. It says factorize completely 2x squared plus 6x minus 36. So I will start factorizing this one. So I think the best way, you must first pause your video, then you factorize it on your own on a piece of paper, and then when I'm doing now the correct factorization, then you can mark yourself and check if you get the correct answer or not. So I'll give you like few seconds to pause the video, and then you factorize it quickly. Number 2.3.1, 2x squared plus 6x minus 36, and then you wait for me to factorize it fully. Then you can check your answer and compare it with my answer. Okay, I hope you did pause the video and you did factorize that problem. Now let us do it, and then you can check your answer and then you compare it with my answer. So to factorize this thing, you can see that you have a coefficient of 2 in front of the x squared. So you must get rid of these 2. So how are you going to do that? You have to only to take the common factor from the first term, second term, third term. So if you take a common factor of 2, then on the first term you'll be left with x squared. On the second term, if you take out 2, you'll be left with a positive 3x. Now if you take 2 from the third term, you will be left with negative 18. Such that if you multiply 2 times x squared, you'll get 2x squared back. If you multiply 2 times positive 3x, you'll get positive 6x. If you multiply 2 times negative 18, you'll get negative 36. So the first thing is to take out the common factor. Now we have to factorize now x squared plus 3x minus 18, because of this is a standard form. So to factorize means that you have to open two brackets. So we have to factorize now this term. So that means that on the first bracket, we'll have to get the factors of x for both brackets. So we'll write the factors of x in the first bracket and the factors of x in the second bracket. So the factors of x squared is x and x. X times x will give us x squared. Okay, so the second thing that we have to do now is to get the factors of 18. This is negative 18. So here we have to write the factors of negative 18. That when you multiply these two, in other words, when you multiply this number and this number, it must give you negative 18. As we did here, we multiplied x times x, we got x squared. So this number that we're going to write here, when we multiply it with this number that we're going to write here, it must give us negative 18. So there are many factors of 18. Let's look at it. The first one, 1 can multiply 18. It will give us 18. 2 multiplied by 9. It will give us 18. And 3 times 6. 3 times 6 will give you 18. So I think these are the factors of 18. 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. Now, which ones are we going to choose, or are we supposed to choose for this factorization? Now, we will be guided now by this middle term, which is positive 3. Now, if you want to get this positive 3, you cannot take the first factors. You can't take these ones, because 1 and 18 cannot give you positive 3. So we can't take the first factors. Let's look at the second factors. We have 2 times 9 is 18, but 2 plus 9 or 2 minus 9 will not give you positive 3. So we won't take the second group of factors. Let's look at the third factors. 3 times 6 does give us 18, and 3 minus 6, it does give us a positive 3. For example, if you want to get a positive 3, that means that this 6 is supposed to be positive and this 3 is supposed to be negative. Such that if we set negative 3 times 6, we get negative 18, and negative 3 plus 6 will get plus 3. So we'll take negative 3 and positive 6. Such that if you set negative 3 times positive 6, you get negative 18, but negative 3 plus 6 will give you plus 3. So the final answer now is 2x minus 3 bracket x plus 6. So this is the factorization of 2x squared plus 6x minus 36. So check your answer and compare it with my answer if you factorize it correctly. Now let's go and do the second problem. The second problem, you are given 9x multiplied by 5a minus b plus 2 times b minus 5a. So again, you must pause the video, go and factorize number 2.3.2, and then you will compare your answer with my answer when we do the corrections. Okay, now let us solve 2.3.2. So you have 9x multiplied by 5a minus b plus 2 times b minus 5a. So we have to factorize this one. Now, before we factorize this one, the value that is inside the bracket, which is 5a minus b, so this value must be the same as that value in the second bracket. If you look at the first bracket, is 5a minus b, but in the second bracket is b minus 5a. So we have to change now the second value in the second bracket to become 5a minus b. So I'm going to leave the first bracket as 5a minus b, but now I will change now the value in the second bracket. This is b minus 5a. I want to change it to 5a minus b. In other words, I'm going to take the 5, put it first, take the b, put it last. But when you switch now these two terms, this sign, which is positive sign for these two, it will change and become negative. So we're going to have now negative 2, then I can change it to a 5a minus b. 5a minus b. So I change now that b minus 5a to 5a minus b. But when you change that, remember the sign that was in front of this bracket, which was b positive 2, it will become a negative. Now I have the same value now in the bracket, 5a minus b, 5a minus b. In other words, I can take now this 5a as a common factor. So I'll take that bracket that says 5a minus b as a common factor. If you take this bracket here, you'll be left with 9x. If you take this bracket here, we'll be left with negative 2. So this is the factorization of that problem. So we have the final answer, which is 5a minus b times 9x minus 2. So that's a final answer. Or even if you started by saying 9x minus 2 multiplied by 5a minus b, your answer will still be correct. Yeah, you can mark yourself now, check if you got the same answer as mine. So now we are going to the third one. We are going to factorize the third problem. We are done with the first and the second. Now we are going to the third problem. Now, they said here 2.3 again, factorize ax squared minus 5ax plus 6. So we are done with the first one, we are done with the second one, now we are doing the third one. Ax squared minus 5ax plus 6a. I'll give you 2 minutes to factorize this one. Pause the video, factorize 2.3.1, then wait for my final solution. Okay, so let's solve this one. I hope you did factorize it. Now let's check for the final solution. So to factorize this one, you can see that we have a as a common factor throughout the three terms. The first term has a, the second term has a, the third term has a. So let's take out a as a common factor. We are left with x squared plus 5x plus 6. So we took a as a common factor, so we are left with x squared plus 5x plus 6. If you notice that in the first problem we had the 2 as a coefficient here, so we got rid of that 2, we took it as a common factor, then we have x squared. So every time you are given a coefficient in front of the x squared, you have to take that as a common factor, then you'll be left now with the standard form. Then from here you know what you have to do. You have to factorize now this x squared plus 5x plus 6. So we know that the factors of x will go in the first and the second bracket. X times x must give you the x squared. Now we need to find the factors of 6 that we are going to multiply, and they must give us positive 5. So we are looking now for the factors of 6. We did find the factors of x. So we need the factors of 6. Here is 6. The factors of 6 is 1 times 6. That will give you a 6. 2 times 3. That will give you a 6. Yeah, so these are the two factors of 6. So the first group of factors of 6, 1 times 6 does give a 6. But can 1 plus 6, 1 minus 6 give us a positive 5? This is the middle term, positive 5. So how to get positive 5 here? So in other words, to get a positive 5, that means this 6 must be positive, this 1 must be negative. So to get a positive 5, the 6 must be positive and the 1 must be negative. But if you make 1 negative and 6 positive, that means this 6 will be negative. But we want a positive 6, so we cannot take now the first group of factors. Let's look at the second group of factors. If you want to get a positive 6, the 2 must be positive and the 3 must be positive. But if you want to get a positive 5, that means the 2 must be positive and the 3 must be positive. So it will work. 2 plus 3 will give us a 5. 2 times 3 will give us a 6. So both our middle term and our third term does work when we take the second group of factors. So I'm going to put here a positive 2. I'm going to put here a positive 3. So my final answer is A equals to x plus 2 bracket x plus 3. So that is the final answer. A times x plus 2 times x plus 3. So this is the final answer for our factorization of 2 times 3, 2.3.1. Yeah, now I'm going to the fourth problem for our factorization. You can check your answer and compare it with my answer and see if you factorize it completely and correctly. Now this is the fourth one. The fourth problem is given 2.3.2. So we are done with that one. Now we are doing this one. 2x minus 3y plus 3y minus 2x times x squared. Pause the video, factorize this one, and then you will compare your answer with my answer after I've done factorizing the fourth one. Okay, now let us solve this one. So you are given 2x minus 3y plus 3y minus 2x times x squared. So we normally don't work with x squared on the other side of the bracket. Let us put the x squared in front of that bracket so that we can see what to do with that x squared. I'm going to put it in front of this bracket. I'm not going to change anything. Just put the x squared in front. So now we have this thing. If we look at the first bracket, we have 2x minus 3y. On the second bracket, we have 3y minus 2x. Now you know what you have to do. You have to change now this. Put the 2x in front, put the 3y at the back. When you do that, you know that this sign is going to change. So that plus is going to become a negative. So let's do that. So we're going to change the second bracket. So the sign will become a negative because we're going to change now this 3y minus 2x to become 2x minus 3y. So by changing these two, the sign in front of this x squared changes to a negative. Now check what do I have now? 2x minus 3y, 2x minus 3y. So now I can factorize. Remember, in front of this bracket there is a 1. So I'm going to take this 2x minus 3y as my common factor. 2x minus 3y. Then what I'll be left with? I'm going to be left with a 1. Minus, if I take this 2x minus 3y as my common factor, I'll be left with this x squared. So this is the factorization. But I still have this x squared now. You can see now this is a difference of two squares. So I can still factorize further and say 2x minus 3y. I can factorize this again. Now I can have here a 1 and a 1. These are the factors of 1. Then for the x squared, I can have x and the x. This is a negative. That means one bracket must be negative. Another bracket must be positive. So now this is my final answer for my factorization. 2x minus 3y times 1 minus x times 1 plus x. So that is the final answer for our factorization. Now you can check your answer and compare it with my answer and check where you went wrong. Then you can do your corrections. So we are done now with the fourth problem. Now we are moving to the fifth problem of our factorization problems. Now, problem number 5, you are given a 3a squared times b to the power 3 minus 12 times a to the power 4 times b. So they said now factorize the following completely. So please pause the video, try to factorize this one, 2.3.1, and then you'll wait for my final solution. Then you can compare your answer with my answer. Okay, so let us now solve this one. So we have 3a squared times b to the power of 3 minus 12a to the power of 4 times b. Now let's look for the common term. Remember there are two terms here. This term 3a squared b to the power of 3 is one term. 12a to the power of 4 times b is one term. There are only two terms here. So now let us check what can we take as a common factor. There is a 3 here and there's a 12 here. That means we can take this 3. If we take the 3, we know that there will be 1 that is left here. If you take a 3 from a 12, there will be 4 that will be left here. So that if you say 3 times 4, it will give you that value again. So I took a 3, so I'm left with a 1 here. I'm going to say, okay, let me do it on the side so that you can see clearly. If I take a 3 from the first one, I'll be left with a 1 minus here. If I take a 3, I'll be left with a negative 4. So I just wanted to see the first constants. Now, I will take a 3 and I'll also take an a. If I take an a here, I know that I will be left with an a inside here. If I take, let's say if I take a squared, I'll be left with 1. Okay, let's take a squared, yeah. If we take a squared, we'll be left with a 1. If we take a squared here, we'll be left with a squared. If we take a b here, we will be left with a 1 because of we'll be left with a 2 b squared. If we take a b here, we'll be left with a 1. So I'm not sure if you are following. So I'm going to take a common factor of 3. I'm left with a 1. If I take a squared, I'm left with a 1. If I take a b here, then I'm left with b squared minus. We took a 3 from there, so we're left with a 4. We took a squared there, we are left with a squared. We took a b here, then we are left with a 1. So this is the first part of our factorization. So we took a common factor, 3a squared times b. We were left with b squared minus 4a squared. If you multiply all this, you'll get the same previous step. Now, I'll leave this 3a squared times b. Now, let us factorize this now, because we can see that we have a difference of 2 squares here. So, don't mind this one. So we have b squared minus 4a squared. We have to factorize this now. So b will have two factors, b and a b will give us a b squared. We need the factors now of 4a squared. So I can have 2a times 2a. 2a times 2a will give me a 4a. But the sign is negative, so the first one must be positive, the other one must be negative. So the final answer I can see is 3a squared times b bracket b plus 2a bracket times b minus 2a. So let me write it clearly so that you can see it. So it's b plus 2a times b minus 2a. Yeah, so this is the final answer for the factorization of 2.3.1. Yeah, otherwise you can do in any way that is simpler for you. Take out the common factor, then factorize now the first bracket to become two brackets. Yeah, so this is the final answer. Let's do now the second last problem for our factorization. So the second last one is very easy. Is x squared minus 3x minus 10. So pause the video, factorize 2.3.2, and then you'll wait for my final solution. Then you can compare answers. Okay, now let's solve this one. So this one is very easy because of there is no coefficient in front of the x squared. So you don't have to take out a common factor now. You just have to factorize. The factors of x squared will be x times x. Then the factors of 10, we are looking for negative 10 here. We have 1 times 10, that's the first group of terms. The second one will be 2 times a 5. It's also going to give us a 10. Now we are looking here for a middle term which is negative 3. We are looking for a middle term of negative 3. So if we look at the first term, 1 times 10 will give us a 10. But 1 minus 10 or 10 minus 1 won't give us a negative 3. So the first group of term cannot work. Let's look at the second group of factors. So if you want to find negative 10, we're going to say 2 times 5 is going to give us a 10. But we are looking for a negative 3 as a middle term. So to get a negative 3, that means the bigger number must be negative, the smaller number must be positive. So if you multiply these two terms, it will give you negative 10. But if you add these two, it will give you negative 3. So both the middle term we do get and the last term we do get. So we're going to make the first bracket positive 2, the second one negative 5. So these are the factors for negative 10. Now, this is the final answer, x plus 2 times x minus 5. So this is the factorization of 2.3.2. Now check your answer and compare it with my answer. Now we are doing the last problem for our factorization problems. Yeah, the last one is 4x times a minus b plus 3 times b minus a. This is the last problem. Now pause the video, try to factorize the last one, 2.3.3, and then wait for my answer, then you can compare answers. Okay, now let us factorize the last problem. This one is also not difficult. You know what you have to do. You look at the first bracket and the second bracket. So the first bracket is a minus b. The last bracket is b minus a. You know what you have to do. You have to change a and b. Put a in front, put b at last, and then when you do that, you know the sign is going to change. So leave the first part, which is 4x a minus b. But now this plus is going to become a negative. So this will become a 3. Then you can change a minus b. So it was b minus a. Now it's a minus b. The plus sign changed to a negative sign. So this term and that term now is the same. So we can take that a minus b as a common factor. We're going to be left with a 4x. If we take a minus b in the second term, we'll be left with a negative 3. Yeah, so that is the final answer. Check your answer and compare it with my answer. It's supposed to be a minus b times 4x minus 3. Or you can put it as 4x minus 3 times a minus b. It's still the same. Yeah, so this is the end of our factorization problems. So I'll see you in the next video.